Welcome to Education in Focus. I'm your host, Aliana Kernodle. With the rising popularity of generative artificial intelligence, which allows users to enter prompts or questions and receive text or answers, students can cheat in ways they couldn't just a few years ago. And now they can do it even better with programs like StealthGPT. Joining me to discuss this is Chalkboard news editor Brennan Clary. Brennan, what is this program?
Yeah, StealthGPT bills itself as a humanizer for artificial intelligence created text. So I think we're all pretty aware at this point that if you go to an AI, it's called a GPT. If you go to like a like ChatGPT or different kinds of AI, like Gemini, different Claude, there's these different kinds of agents or that will generate text. You can say, hey, like write me an essay on George Washington's experience, cutting down the cherry tree, for example, or like why that was formative in his life. And then it'll give you and say, I needed 600 words long. I need it to sound like this. I need to sound like a kid wrote it. And then you try to do that. It'll spit it out. It'll give you something that will, read cohesively and include the different things that you tell it to. And basically you ask it for information into the best of its ability using what's called a large language model. It'll come back at you with the information that it thinks that you want. And so that's I think we're all pretty familiar with that. Maybe we've used it or seen other people use it or played around with it. But it kind of has popped up in a lot of different sectors of our society, right? From ads to to listings. People wanted to write about selling their car, or to writing your school, your school papers, right? And I've also seen a news account of a lawyer who received professional penalization for using it to write a brief for the court, and then it was discovered that something that it cited was wrong. And so then he had to admit, oh yeah, I used AI to write this, and, lost his law license, if I remember that correctly. So, there are these different areas where this has been used. And this StealthGPT basically says, if you use us, we'll take that text and we'll convert it to something that can be identified as AI. So currently, you can use programs like Turnitin or Grammarly or ZeroGPT and basically try to find out whether or not the text was written by AI. If you get a piece back, hey, it looks a little bit fishy, I'm going to put it in here and see. But this StealthGPT says it's traceless AI-generated content that does not get flagged by Turnitin. And they say that they are constantly, trying it against some of these, the best detectors to ostensibly not get caught. Like that's the whole point, is that you can write your essay and then you can use this to sort of scramble the text and make it look more human and make it look more like a human wrote it and like AI didn't write it. And then turn it in, bada bing, bada boom, you're good, right? So that's really the premise there. And it's kind of similar to Goth Math or Goth AI, which is an app that we've written about, and I believe we've discussed on here as well, which was owned by ByteDance, which is the parent company of TikTok, which, kind of has its own conversation attached with it. But basically you can take a picture of your homework and it'll give you the answers. And there's an aspect of StealthGPT that will do that too, where you can take a picture and do that. So there's like that full range of services. So that in a nutshell, that's what StealthGPT is trying to do.
So then what's kind of the branding around this? What is the official stance of the company?
Yeah, I think the conversation around it is you can use this to get away with using AI writing. And it's hard from a legal point of view, or, if you're a company like this, like how far out do you go and say that? And so like in promotional materials, or like and this is what we saw with Goth AI too, is that, it's saying like you can use this, or like that students can sign up for this, or, this will make your life easier, or you can do all of your things in one place. And ostensibly, like if you're reading that as a student, you're like, wow, this would make my life so much easier. I can use this to write all the papers that I want and I won't get caught. And so there's a lot of that happens, like, with the subtext of like students are already looking for the solutions. There's a lot of different solutions out there, but this is better than all of them because it's undetectable, right? So that's really the branding behind it, is that it's undetectable, that there is like kind of that need for that in the market. And that's something that its creator talked about too, is like, this is basically allowing people to do what they are going to do anyway. Or like to, if there's already AI out there, we're just going to kind of help them along, and we're going to kind of burn down the academic institutions and the integrity of that. And like, basically they don't have any standing anymore anyway. And so this is going to help. And if you ask, there's an AI agent that you can kind of talk with on StealthGPT's website, which is not, it says like, I'm an agent, you can talk to me, but I'm not undetectable. So just, with that grain of salt. But you can ask it questions about what StealthGPT can do, and you can ask it, if you ask it, can you write papers for a middle school student? It says, yes, you can, like, where it's designed to help students at all levels, including middle school, with their writing assignments. So, even if you ask that question of the AI agent that's designed to answer questions about it, that's what you get back. So I think for all intents and purposes, it's like, yes, you can use this for whatever purpose. It could be your blog, and there's other marketing that is done by the company, specifically towards those who have like small businesses, for example, and they want to write a blog and have it with a lot of SEO keywords, but they don't want to get downplayed by Google, different kinds of search engines that are moving away from AI created writing. So this would say like, okay, you can still use AI writing, but then, and not get penalized for it. So, you can save money or save time. You don't have to buy a content writer. You don't have to do any of this stuff. So there are other uses as well. And just kind of an aside with that, the creator in an interview said that he had heard from PhD students saying that they're writing their thesis with StealthGPT. So just kind of like an aside there of like, there's a lot of different levels of people who are using this and employing it, for their own ends.
But is the official stance that you're not supposed to use it to cheat?
Yeah. So like the main message is like, you can use this for whatever you need to avoid detection. But then, in its terms of service, it says students cannot use it to cheat, right? So there's like that, again, like what we saw with Goth AI, where it's like, officially don't do anything that would violate, your institution's academic policies, right? Or your school, like, don't go against your school code. And this one specifically, it says that it's promoted to academic integrity and prohibits any form of academic dishonesty, including plagiarism, cheating, collusion, fabrication, and facilitating dishonest acts. And that they're expected to use their services and resources ethically and responsibly, and adhering to the principles of academic honesty. And that, if you don't do that, then you could have a warning, a temporary suspension, permanent ban, or account termination, and that they reserve the right to determine the appropriate consequence for any violation and cooperate with relevant authorities and educational institutions as required by law or upon request. So again, if somebody asks, are you using this? Again, like, and so it's one of those questions of like, how would they ever know that your stuff was StealthGPT if it actually did make it undetectable? And kind of raises questions of, if you're using this and then, an organization asks StealthGPT, do you have any users with our email address? Would they comply? Would they say yes and then turn you over? It's one of those questions of like, and from the interview, it sounded like the founder, Joseph Gurman, he said, I do have the names of everybody who's used this. I have their email addresses at least. And so I have an idea of like where they're coming from. And students that have, their .edu, they get a discount. So I think there might be ways to do that. So it's one of those questions of how untraceable is this, like by law, would they have to give stuff over if asked? And it kind of raises questions related to that. So yeah. So again, like what we saw with Goth AI, you have sort of an official policy and then, the unofficial marketing saying kind of different things about what the service provides.
Well, Brendan, thank you for your insights on this story. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at chalkboardnews.com.